It's Dirty Politics Weekly on the Link, live on location. Every week, Chris and Sabrina will interview different political leaders out in the field to address environmental problems in our community. See firsthand how illegal dumps, littering, and other issues are plaguing our beautiful island and what's being done to help. Part of our Sustainability Matters campaign for Earth Month, in partnership with the University of Guam Center for Island Sustainability and Guam Green Growth. Presented by Green Energy Solutions, Inc. Reduce before you produce. GESI.
Dirty Politics for Sabrina Salas-Matanoni. I'm Chris Barnett, joined by our favorites at Guam EPA, of course, Glenn Nicolas with the Solid Waste Division, and the spokesman of Guam EPA, Nick Lee, here in the Chalan Kotda area of Yigo. Well, the Dedito mayor says it's Yigo, and the Yigo mayor says it's land trust property, but what it definitely is a freaking wreck. Literally, look at these abandoned vehicles. I counted over 20 abandoned vehicles. This is sitting on Chamorro Land Trust property. Glenn, are we over the aquifer here?
We are definitely over the aquifer. We're definitely over the aquifer.
Right, and this is just, I mean, we've seen it all for Dirty Politics with the link on location, but abandoned vehicles, this is terrible. It's terrible. Let's walk down here, guys. As you can see, again, like over 20 vehicles, we got a bunch here, and it kind of looks like it was a situation where somebody put an abandoned vehicle here, then someone else saw there was one, and they thought, oh, this must be where we take abandoned vehicles.
And that's often the trend nowadays is, you start off with an illegal dump site and it gets cleaned up and they see one bag left. Then all of a sudden there's more bags left in the place because residents who don't care, they feel that that's suitable for their disposal.
All right, let's just take a walk here, guys. I mean, it might be easy for someone to say, oh, I mean, I've seen yards like this where people just got tons of cars, and you try and get them to clean it up, and they say, oh, it's for parts, but that's clearly not what's happening here, right, Glenn?
No, this is definitely an illegal dump site. Oftentimes in Chamorro Land Trust properties, there's recipients who, collect vehicles. They take what they need, and then they leave it off on the wayside for the mayors to remove on their behalf. Unfortunately, this is definitely a site that we'll be investigating to determine who is the culprits.
And so you haven't seen this site before, right?
No, I have not seen this site. I need to take a look at our database. We received some complaints in this area, and we haven't gotten out to the site yet. Oftentimes when there's junk vehicles complaints, we refer them to the mayor's office so they can register with the mayors for removal.
Right.
And then the mayors will prioritize, based on their needs, the removal of the waste.
But that's the totally legit process, and that process is if I have an abandoned vehicle on my property that maybe belonged to me, it's not running anymore, I can go call the mayor and they'll give me a number or whatever, and they definitely have the funds for it. But this looks like we don't know who owns these vehicles. They just got dumped here, so it's a little bit of a different situation, right?
It's an abandoned vehicle by definition, so people who register their vehicles, they pay into the abandoned vehicle fund before. Now it's called the recycling revolving fund that's used to remove abandoned vehicles, waste tires, bulky metallic waste, and the like.
And look at this, man. This has been here so long that it's growing. It's just become part of the jungle here. And I don't know, when I was growing up, the freaking jungle didn't look like this. Got a car flipped over here, a Pathfinder, an Xterra over here. There's more abandoned vehicles, as you can see right down here. And Glenn, I mean, Swamp Road, they did a huge cleanup with Chamorro Land Trust properties last year with the dengue fever outbreak. What is it with these Chamorro Land Trust properties that makes them susceptible to illegal dumping?
Well, we drove in Cuscal Road here. We were in your dust coming in. They're forgotten. There should be more resources to help people who live in these areas with the basic necessities of water, power, and sewer. If they harden the road and perhaps, I'm not going to blame Chamorro Land Trust. They're short-staffed just like everybody else is in the government of Guam. but they definitely need to take a look at their lease agreements and ensure that their recipients are not managing waste and not farming cars instead of what the properties are intended for use.
Right, and so those people listening, they might hear you say that, oh, well, and they are forgotten. I mean, I totally agree. Chamorro Land Trust, for too long, the lessees have been put in, on the back burner. But people watching might say, well, if we pave this road, it's just going to make it easier for people to dump. And what does that have to do with the irresponsibility that we see here?
Well, everybody has a responsibility to maintain their waste. Responsible uh, owners of junk vehicles will have it towed to a recycling facility, but not to stereotype the demographics in a lot of the Chamorro Land Trust properties. They basically have they don't have enough resources to help them even get a decent place to live.
Yeah, I mean, let alone household garbage pickup is an issue. I can't even imagine abandoned vehicles and getting rid of those.
You're right, and I think that it starts off with the household trash, and then it just magnifies into junk vehicles. And I suspect that somewhere down the road there'll be even more sites like this. And as you can see across the street here, there's also household waste. So areas like this, because it's so isolated, it's forgotten, and I the mayors do a lot, and my hat's off to them. But I think they need resources, not so much increase in pay, but more increase in budget, operations, and maintenance on what they need to service their community.
Right, Nick, let's bring Nick Lee, Guam EPA spokesman, onto here. Just a little background on the situation, right? So this is Yigo. We know one resident who lives in this area who said that they approached the Dedito mayor. Dedito mayor said, no, that's Yigo. I want nothing to do with that. Yigo mayor said, oh, yeah, it's Yigo, but it's Chamorro Land Trust property. So we see this abandoned car and illegal dump hot potato going on. What's your comment on that?
The agency does work with the mayors and the mayor's council to ensure that there's some level of funding that will be able to address abandoned vehicles. I mean, as Glenn pointed out, areas like these are isolated. They provide a greater opportunity for constituents to make it somebody else's problem, make these cars somebody else's problem. As funding levels increase and as as the mayors get their traction with the program, I'm fairly certain that the agency will be continuing the work with them to address these vehicles, and hopefully there is going to be some demarcation, as to the mayors agreeing, who has responsibility for what part of the island, and it's just they're managing their expectations on how they can use that money. Yeah.
I mean, it's frustrating, man, because, the mayors are in over their heads. I mean, everybody, this whole month we've been doing this Link on Location Dirty Politics. The takeaway is everybody is suffering from financial and manpower shortages that prevent us from tackling this real, epidemic of illegal dumping on the island. At what point do we kind of look at Chamorro Land Trust, which to me this is really tragic, because the Chamorro Land Trust program, I mean, we had so many people in our history fight for this program. It's a land restoration program that's supposed to make up for all the illegal land takings that happen with the federal government. It's supposed to distribute land to Chamorro and native inhabitants of Guam. And then you go into these areas where these people have this land and it looks like this. And it's just disgusting because it makes it so easy for people who aren't eligible to get the land to hate on the program.
From a policy standpoint, in the past we have initiated some discussions with Chamorro Land Trust. Glenn can elaborate on that, especially in terms of what the expectations are for leaseholders.
It should be common sense. I mean, the expectation should be don't pile friggin' 20 abandoned vehicles outside your... I mean, it's common sense, right?
Right. But I believe if there is a clearer shift in policy, it puts leaseholders on notice, and the hope is that they'll have second thoughts about engaging in this type of activity.
Yeah, man, Glenn. I mean, we could do all the clean up and pick up the vehicles, but again, I mean, we talked about this in the first episode of Dirty Politics. It comes down to the mindset. And when I come into these isolated properties and I look around, I just can't believe that people are okay with this.
Not everybody's okay with it. And, you know, you're going to have volunteers come out, and they're going to come out tomorrow in full force to clean up sites like this. Unfortunately, they don't have the resources to remove the bulky, you know, waste such as abandoned vehicles, white goods, and such. So the mayors are going to come out as well, and they're going to go ahead and, you know, they're going to join together in this island cleanup that is happening tomorrow again.
Right. Glenn, so let's talk investigation, right? A site like this, is this relatively easy to investigate?
Not really, because you know, we're going to take a look at where the waste is at, and then if there's a parcel number, and it'll be easier if it wasn't Chamorro Land Trust property, but because it's Chamorro Land Trust property, Chamorro Land Trust is ultimately going to be responsible. But it's one of those things, again, it's isolated, and you know, as you can see, there's no development going on over here and over there, but that's where all the waste is at. So the monitoring portion of it, enforcement, is going to be very difficult in terms of you know, finding out who the violators are. We just know that the property is owned by Chamorro Land Trust, and we've actually worked with Chamorro Land Trust land agents for inspections and compliance, mostly on the Swamp Road and Dedido areas and Jotnya areas. But you know, this site here is, you know, Chamorro Land Trust has a large inventory of properties, and I think maybe instead of parceling it out, they need to consolidate it, control it, develop it, and then, you know, eventually parcel it off more as it becomes available when the infrastructure is placed in. But when you have a parcel here and the next parcel is down there and another mile down there and everything in between is illegal dumping, then, you know, it just makes sense to, let's just start a new slate, reconsolidate everything and reassign everything and do it right the first time.
Interesting. That's a very interesting perspective there, Glenn. So investigation-wise, when we come across, I mean, let's say this isn't Chamorro Land Trust property, it's just somewhere else, and you find an abandoned vehicle, just kind of walk us through the steps of how you investigate it. Because I'm thinking, like, do you look at the VIN or what do you do? Check the glove box first?
Yeah. So we're looking around the first with the general location, and then we go into the details, the vehicle make and model, and then license plate if there's any, the VIN number if there's any. We run those plates through Revenue and Tax Department of Motor Vehicles to find out who the last registered owner is. And based on the last registered owner, they'll be the responsible party. And oftentimes, like you said, you know, I sold this vehicle and, you know, I don't know who owns it now. And that was like 10 years ago. They never registered it with, I guess, motor vehicles.
Well, guys, I want to say, I wish I could say it's been fun, but it hasn't. It's actually sucked really bad meeting you guys at all these illegal dumps for Earth Month. And, you know, we want to highlight these sites during Earth Month, but even beyond April, the work continues with Guam EPA, with the mayors, with the volunteers that clean all these areas up, right?
Yes, and we're inviting you guys out tomorrow for Earth cleanup. You know, just you can work with your municipality or your favorite nonprofit organization, or even hook up with the government agencies who are conducting the cleanups. And if not, at a minimum, clean around your homes, clean around your neighborhoods, make Guam a safer
Guam
place.
For real, Nick. Again, it's totally sucked this month. Hopefully we can meet in better circumstances next Earth Month. But for Glenn Nicolas and Nick Lee here, Guam EPA, we're in the Chalan Kotda area of Chamorro Land Trust property. Just really an abandoned car graveyard. Okay, so you guys, for Sabrina Salas-Mantanani, this has been another Dirty Politics link on location. That's that.
Dirty Politics Weekly on the Link live on location. Every week, Chris and Sabrina will interview different political leaders out in the field to address environmental problems in our community. See firsthand how illegal dumps, littering, and other issues are plaguing our beautiful island and what's being done to help. Part of our Sustainability Matters campaign for Earth Month, in partnership with the University of Guam Center for Island Sustainability and Guam Green Growth. Presented by Green Energy Solutions, Inc. Reduce before you produce. GESI.